What's what? For me, my understanding is that that's the quest for each one of us. And it's been there for a while. Check out what's happening around us. What is it that may happen? And consider this quest started many years back. For me, about 51 years back, when I was a child. Do you remember the first time somebody clicks in front of the child? Does that? And the child just turns. The child has yet not started seeing and locating things, but the sound, it does. The child does this. And then you do, the child moves the other side. The child is hearing. Yeah, she can listen. And then a few days or weeks later, something colorful is moved here, and the child's eye moves. It's noticing it. It's noticing it. What is the child doing? The child, in my understanding, is essentially checking what's what. What is it that she can hear? What is that thing which she doesn't know is pink or orange or blue, but what is there? And there begins our journey. Because the moment we notice the child listening to something, hearing something, looking at something, we become vigilant. We say, shh, not too much sound. Play some music. Yeah. No bad words. She's listening. We have become the mentors to that child. From here on, the journey is for the two of us. She sits, plays, crawls, sits on the lap. She's whispered to what we want her to hear. The mentor. The mentor is responsible for what is happening around that child. Speak words that she can learn. Papa. Mama. Wait. Come. Isha. Idako phone. And one day, suddenly she says, doggy. And we go, yeah! She learned it. She said, doggy. And then she said, poo. She's picking up fast. She's smart. We shall take some credit for it. We are putting some things around her so that she can learn what we think is great for her. And you know what? One day even she said, apple, when she saw that apple there. In fact, what's happening is, whatever you do, I do, says the child. You start walking like this, dancing, and the child picks up. And somebody says, yay! That's what he does. Yay! You do, I do. Now, I am very careful. The child is not only listening to what I speak, the child is also watching how I behave. I, for one, quit smoking around the time my son was growing up. I didn't want my son to watch me smoking. I really wanted some amazing things for him. So I made certain alteration for myself, essentially to create an environment which he will be around so that he can copy, he can imitate. You do, I do. That's what I believed in. You know what? If Mangniyars are to be believed, Mangniyars, the famed Rajasthani folk singers, they say they never teach the child how to sing. In fact, their child just sings. They also say that their child even cries pitch perfect. Of course. Of course, the Mangniyar child will cry pitch perfect, because surrounding it is the perfect pitch. It's pitch perfect. The mentors, the carers, the people who love, people who are the holders of a tradition, make sure that the child gets an environment which is pitch perfect. And then something very important happens. Suddenly the parent gets worried. What will happen to my child? I have to really take care. I have to make sure that the child is around good company. At home I take care, but outside, who are the friends that child is meeting? Where is that child? Who is this child playing with? We've got to be careful, right? What if the child goes astray? The only child of a Bengali mother, I bore the brunt of it. I hated it. Seriously. I still recall, all my life, I would be held like this, and Ma would comb me. Held like this, Ma would comb me. Held like this, Ma would comb me. For once, I wanted her to move, rather than move my face around. No, seriously. You know what? In fact, I stopped combing my hair. I recently started it again because I started losing it. Still don't like the idea of people saying, losing hair? Yeah, I am, so? My mother saw it probably. And she used to comb my hair that way. So I was waiting. I was waiting and biding for time. And I, the mini me, became major me. This is not me. I tried to put me on. They said not allowed. Fair enough. I got somebody who looks exactly like me. You thought so, right? So major me was slightly taller, slightly heavier, slightly hairier than what I was. But the best part was the major me was major. He was no longer a minor. And you know what's the first thing I did as a major? Take a guess. I fired my mentors, my parents, my mother. Ashish. In fact, I used to think that my name is No Ashish. No Ashish, no Ashish, no Ashish. No Ashish didn't like it. I said, no Ma. I was waiting for it. And I got the moment. And I said, I'm on my own. And it was university. I was the head boy of my school, in charge of discipline. I was biding for time there too. As I stepped into my college, the Hindu college, the first thing that struck me was not the building. It was the cigarette ki dukaan. I said, seriously? Seriously you can buy cigarettes and it's okay? They said, yeah. And I said, you mean I can actually take a cigarette and walk into my college? I said, of course, you're grown up. I loved that idea of a grown up. So I, who's not used to smoking, because I was in school and I was a head boy. I used to catch others who were smoking. I had never smoked. Once or twice, but not really. So here I bought one cigarette, I lit up, and I coughed. But I held on to that cigarette and first tentatively and then confidently walked into my college. And guess what? Nobody said anything. Life was happening, and how? This was my opportunity to live life fully. And I did. I went berserk. Those 2 years my first 2 years of university were absolute madness. I did excess of everything I was not allowed to do or even think of earlier. Excess of everything that you can imagine. And the worst thing in that was, in the midst of that excess, I realized I was becoming everything that I never ever wanted to be, including a person who was giving pain to his parents. This was a time that I was well into theater. So theater gave me another bit of independence and the ability to do what I wanted there too. So my madness even reached there. So here I'd stopped listening to my ma. Baba I would evade. Baba was a kind person, my hero, but I would just evade. But ma I would just not listen to. And I would be berserk even at my place of theater. They tolerated me because I was good. And that gave me a further freedom till one day, as luck would have it, I met this soft-spoken person who said, I will not take it. His name was Badal Sarkar, the theatre doyen. I was at his workshop rejecting everything that he was saying, creating pandemonium in the workshop. And he said, Ashish! He said it softly, but it sounded this way to me. He said, Ashish, if you want to reject whatever I'm teaching, I suggest you reject it at the end of the workshop, not each day. Because each time you reject, you not only kill it for yourself, but each member in this workshop. Do you want to stay or do you want to leave now? I was also a coward. I kept quiet. But I had not learned my lesson. I stayed in the workshop, but a month and a half later, I was thrown out of the theatre group. My theatre group, Delhi, Sambhav, threw me out. I was alone. I was, again, back to my intoxicants or whatever I was doing. And I was sad. And I couldn't even share it with my parents, my dear parents, whom I had fired. I kept up the pretense. I used to leave each morning saying that I'm going for my rehearsals. Just stick around Mandi House, come back at night. A few months later, my parents realized that I was not there in any of the plays. I used to first tell them, no, I'm doing backstage. And then they realized that I was not even to be seen. And that is when what Badalda told me came back to me. Badalda had also told me, Ashish, you're ruining yourself. And you're ruining things that you love. And he was right. Thanks to me being full of myself, I was ruining even my tryst, my ability to act on stage. And something interesting happened in that period. I said, I need to get back to learning again. But that started when I had a look at my father. My father's name is Govind Vidyarthi. Vidyarthi meaning the student. It is a name that he took on because he wanted to remain a student all his life. And I realized that I didn't find him amazing because of all that he had. I found him amazing because he had the ability and the willingness to keep the student in him alive. And that point I connected to this amazing thing, which thanks to my father, in his quiet way, he reintroduced me to Eklavya. Eklavya, if you know, is a character from Mahabharata who was shunned by his teacher. He was made the pariah, but he made sure that he would learn what he wanted to. He had the statue of his guru made. He made it himself and started learning from it and became an archer. That distant me thrown out from the group, I knew that I had to create for myself a legacy which I can be proud of, even though people have shunned me. It probably does take, when we are down and out, for us to realize what is possible from us. And that is what happened for me. Because for me, Eklavya was the master student. At that point, I started choosing my mentors. I said my life will not be run by mentors who just come to me and I'm finding fault with them. I started choosing mentors who were far from me, who wouldn't even know me. But I said, you know what? There is something about them which I like. And I said, I will take that on. This has been one of the most powerful learnings for me, that as I discovered years back that mentor had stopped looking after the child in me. My love for Eklavya and my willingness to learn and be the impressive master student put me back in touch with the need to continuously learn, something which we are doing in this August assembly today. And that is when I got that this life, it's not one in which strings aren't attached, no strings attached. Yes, strings are attached. Strings are attached to between us and everything in the universe. We are connected. It is up to us whom we want to play trapeze with. Why trapeze? Because I've always felt that in the trapeze act, as you jump, as you leap, and you reach out and you catch that person takes you to a high. That is the high which is possible when we reach out to excellence around us, thoughts around us, people whom we may have never met, whom we may never meet. But excellence is available when we can choose to be the trapeze artist. This is at the core of that grand alliance. When I make buddies, I'm very clear that one of us isn't going to give up. There will be times when one of us will feel tired, one of us will say it's not possible, and then suddenly we will be around a conversation and say, you know what? I thought it was not possible, but possibly it is. So let the child keep coming up. Let the mentor be corrected. Let the child invite to reinvent. Let the mentor follow suit. Let the mentor make sure that the child does reinvent. For me, at the core of this is that willingness to live, to be touched by color. Because color is around the universe. How long do we want to keep away from that color, allowing us to be touched by the colors of the universe? For me, the life's journey will continue to be with the two of us, the mentor and the student. And hopefully, I will live, nurture, and cultivate it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to being here with the two of us. Thank you for being here with the two of you. Thank you.